So many people think that they're going to find the gold at the end of the rainbow with their job. Their job is going to lead them down the road to success. They're going to find all these little trinkets and gadgets, and every one of their dreams can come true because of their job. Some people really enjoy their work. Some people really enjoy the challenge. Some people enjoy the networking, and some people enjoy the activity and the learning and the development and moving up a ladder and the chase. And a lot of people really do enjoy their job from top to bottom. I really enjoyed my job too. So much, in fact, that I was even willing to travel many years ago. I spent so many times up in Fort McMurray. If you're aware of the area, it's the tar sands. It's basically where they do a lot of digging, and they're digging and rooting for oil. They convert that, of course, the bitumen and the tar sands into a product that ultimately we use in our vehicles today. So as coming from naturally into the trades, you spend a lot of time up there. If you're an industrial tradesperson, or if you're in industry in any way, in engineering or capacity, most people wind up in Fort McMurray at some point in their career. And I did too. But during that time, I spent many, many weeks, months, even a few years up there, on and off, shutdowns, turnarounds. You spend time even for extended periods. And, I found myself enjoying it, initially, the road trip up there. Grab some snacks on the road, head up the highway to hell, as they say. And you wind up just, having fun, some good chat, windshield chat with some buddies. And you grab some snacks and heading out for another week on the road. Well, quite often it meant staying in camps. The camps were not a highlight. Anybody stay in rig camps or any kind of these camps up in these areas, you'll realize they're hardly camping. It's not what you consider in a camp where, people pitch a tent and they're just enjoying, they're roasting marshmallows by the fire. That's not the type of camp where, in fact, it's a camp situated with piles and piles and rows of those ATCO trailers, surrounded by other people, like-minded in many cases, people that are there for a long period of time, and people from all sorts of walks of life. Now, over my course and time up there, I realized a lot of things. You look around all over through the parking lot, and you'll see time and time again rows of old beaters, $500, $1,000 cars that are barely roadworthy. And yet, the entire facility has people working there making $150,000, $200,000, $300,000. Tradespeople, welders, electrical people, all kinds of engineering groups. You name it, insulators, painters, industrial steel workers, iron workers, pipe fitters, all of them. They're all up there. And they're all making hundreds of thousands of dollars. And yet, you look around and you'll see something that's very interesting. Parking lots of people that are working up there that are driving cheap old beaters. Now, some people do that because they prefer to, but unfortunately, if you know Fort McMurray, then you'll know a lot of people do it because they have no choice. Because in fact, what ends up happening is people spend so much time chasing the dollar, and there was time and time and time again where you end up speaking to people. You talk to people that have been up there for the last 6 or 7 years. There's even people that when you have your turnaround and you're up there for 2 weeks and then you give you 3 days off, there's people that would stay in the camp because they had nowhere to go. It's a super sad state of affairs because ultimately, when you really start learning, there's so many people up there chasing the dollar, chasing the work that they forgot was what back at home. Wife, kids, possibly life, some of the passions you had, some of the things you enjoyed doing, all put on hold for the sake of chasing that dollar. Now, in some cases, people put a time limit on it. And I knew a few people along the way that played their cards right. And they decided, you know what? I'm going to do this for 5 years, pay down the mortgage, do this, that, and the other. They have some financial objectives. And they said, by this date, we're done. And that was good. There are people that actually set those standards for themselves. And if you did that, then you were one of the lucky few. Because unfortunately, the entire facility was loaded with people that just had no end date. They were just up there trying to cash in as much as they could. And while some people had self-control, the unfortunate part is a lot of these people were the creators of many a broken homes. That's right. They were chasing the ultimate job, or in some cases, chasing the ultimate career. In this case, mostly trades up in the oil sands, but I've met people in all types of industries and all types of work environments, even the corporate space. How many people do you know that work in corporate that fall the same way that a lot of these trades guys did up in Fort McMurray? They spend too much time at the office, burning a midnight candle, burning it at both ends, working, trying to make $1, trying to impress the boss, trying to get your next promotion, only to find out naturally that maybe you were put up, maybe you didn't get the promotion, and maybe you did. But the worst part is getting that promotion now with the elevated expectation, you spend more time at work. That more time at work means less time at home, right? Like we said, the average person spends 8 to 10 hours a day at work, a couple hours of transportation back and forth, that's 12 hours. You sleep for 7, then where does that take you? 19, 20, that you might have 3 hours, maybe in every evening if you're lucky. And of that, maybe an hour or two of dinner and prep and showering and all that other goodness. And unfortunately, what it means is less quality time with you and the family. And I saw that time and time again. It was so impactful even to me and myself that when I was in that environment, I knew and I said to myself, I got to get the hell out of here. I got to get out. At first, it was fun. But after a couple of years doing the grind, realizing I'm missing birthday parties, I'm missing our anniversary, I'm missing some of these events, I'm not there for this. I didn't, you know what? That was tragic. And realizing time and time and time again how much I was truly missing out. Missing out so much, in fact, that it created a little friction, and it does. It often creates friction in families when the father's not around or the mother's not around, and it doesn't matter who the sole breadwinner is. The point is, when you remove somebody from that environment, it's creating a new dynamic. Quite often, kids start acting up, things start changing, the attitudes start shifting in the house, relationships start breaking down. I can't tell you how many times I've heard of divorce. That's right. It's a devastating turn of events. Here's another classic example. A good friend of mine years ago, he was making all kinds of money. He was doing great, but he had time at home with the family. He had a job that was well balanced. He was doing great. He would work in, some typical jobs, making good money as a tradesperson, all kinds of money. He bought himself a fun motorcycle, he bought a Harley, then he bought a big ski boat, bought himself a big diesel pickup truck, and next thing you know, he had all the toys. He was loving it. But he was also doing a little trading, a little stock trading on the side. And the problem was, he just didn't know when to quit. And it's like anybody who gambles realizes that it's that first hit. That first hit of dopamine is what it actually causes and triggers a lot of these events, because he absolutely had one of those that hit. So he turned something, I believe it was around $4,000 or $5,000. Wham! After a few years of day trader or trading on the side, he hit a stock and he actually converted that into about $242,000. Well, he was hooked. Just like most people in casinos become hooked. Well, he was hooked so bad, in fact, that he decided, you know what? I made so much money in such a short period of time, I'm going to do some day trading. And so he did that. And so ultimately, in do this day trading, a guy that was, we'd go out regularly, we'd hang out, we'd go driving together, riding together, wakeboarding together, have a lot of fun, have the odd drink, maybe go golfing. He was no longer available. Now that he started day trading, he became locked and loaded into his new career. He was pretty much had his face into the screen all day long, from morning to night, weekends, evenings. He was pretty much invincible. You never heard from him again. Of course, that naturally over a period of time led to him and his wife deciding they were no longer compatible, and he lost everything. He lost basically his family, he lost the house, he lost all those toys he worked so hard for. Why? Because of his career, his job. And it doesn't matter if you're a day trader or you're a tradesperson or a pipe fitter up north, or you're maybe even possibly a doctor, or even more importantly, doctors are very, very important, but something that people get focused on is just ultimately their career. Maybe you're even just a lawyer or some other kind of career that you've decided that, you know what, I'm going to work hard. This means so much to me. And it's great, because we've all had those times in our lives where the career is very important. We're building something. We're trying to develop. We're trying to earn a reputation, develop a name for ourselves, maybe become a bit of a legend in our own space. And in doing so, sadly, many people forget what really matters. Life, family, health, and quite often those things go wave bye-bye. A lot of people spend more time chasing the dollar, chasing the career, climbing the ladder, and then end up forgetting all their friends, their family, and the things that they really enjoy doing. I've seen this time and time and time again. So ultimately, if there's one thing that I've learned in a few times in my life, is that once where I was working those extended shifts up north, it got to the point where when I knew I was getting close to the end there, it would aggravate, I would get so revved up, so angry on a Sunday night when I knew I had to drive up to Fort McMurray and leave the family. I got so angry and so cranky about it all that I had to make a change. But fortunately for me, I got out soon enough. Not everybody does. And fortunately, I had an opportunity. Not everybody does. You know, I had another stream of skill sets and I was able to rally into that and leverage into that, and finally got into that line of work that I wanted to, and took me to my next segment of life. But I saw so many people, just like all those tradespeople in Fort McMurray. You know, unfortunately, many of them are making the right decisions and doing it for the right points, and certainly putting a time limit on that just to try to get financially ahead. Many others just don't have that date. They forget about what is sitting at home. They neglect it, and next thing you know, that's gone. So if there's one thing that I've learned in this life, money's fine. We all need it to eat. We all need it we need a roof over our head and a form of transportation in some way. And I'll be the first to admit, we all like our toys. I like my toys too from time to time. But if there's one thing that has to be prioritized, at least from my perspective, everybody's got their own, it's family, health, wealth, in that way. Not from financial, not from the paperbacks. This is just a life experience that I've seen over the 40 years of my life, or over the 55 years of my life, how quite often we get snookered and we get pulled into a direction that isn't always in our best interests. And sometimes we're in it too deep to actually see. It's not until you look back from a distance and you're looking at it from overarching, from 30,000 feet, as they say, when you actually see what everybody else is doing and you see how it's impacting them, then you realize, you look in a mirror and realize, wait a minute, but that's me too. At that point, it's always better late than never, as they say. And chasing that career, that job, that dollar. It's fun for a while. If it's a means to an end, it all works. But if that's your norm, and working that career, working that job, that's that 9-to-5 hustle, and foregoing your health and your family and your relationships, that's something I realized long ago that I had to make a change, and I did. Please do drop a line, everybody, and as well, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you like to talk about health, wealth, more specifically lifestyle around retirement, and of course your career, because I love talking about my transition from career to my naturally now to retirement. Hope to see each and every one in the next one. We'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.